so they can come to your building and get food. Yes, it's free, but for some families that may not matter to them. So is it going to be more convenient? Does it save them from having to prepare meals for a family of 4 every single day? Do your kids like the meals? You guys are the experts of your own students. We, especially as consultants, come in, but you guys are the ones in your kitchens every single day. You're feeding your kids, what they like and what they don't like and what works. So really kind of honing in on knowing those kids and serving menus that is going to appeal to them. And then certainly, is it what they're used to eating? In some of our districts, we have kids who are very savvy consumers and savvy shoppers, and they are used to being able to build a bowl, get all of their fresh produce, top it however they want, and then leave the cafeteria with something that, they got to create custom made. If we've had to transition our feeding model so that everything is prepackaged, there's no choice, it's not what they're used to, they're probably going to be less likely to eat it. And then totally the most important thing is, does it taste good, right? We've had to kind of work with some of our school districts on all things quality, and maintaining that quality in the different foods that we're serving. And if the food doesn't taste good, the kids are not going to eat it. As simple as that. All right, so this is actually an exercise that Maureen did as part of her 10,000 Small Businesses program. And so really this is all things marketing, right? So we're not marketing experts. The Sonic Partners, we're not marketing experts. We try our hand at it, but so we don't expect you guys to be either. However, we know that we're trying to sell food. We are working with these savvy customers every single day. So these are some questions that you can kind of ask yourself, and you obviously want to interact with your consumers and try and think like them and encourage them to buy what you're making, right? So how do customers actually recognize that they have a need for this product? Where do customers get their information? Are you utilizing social media? Are you utilizing different, bulletin boards in the community? Are you using newspapers? How are you getting this message out to them?
Lauren, I'm back. Yay!
Oh, sweet. Okay, cool. Can you see the screen?
Such a good job. So yes, and you know what? In all things pivots and being flexible, there I go on my little roller coaster of home internet. So questions asked here, just to kind of jump in, the idea is you have 5 questions, you write them across the top of a whiteboard, and you literally do a brainstorming group with your community, your cooks, your staff, your head cooks in those areas, and you say, what customers, what need are we meeting? And so I talk about this both as a person planning this and as a mom, right? So what I need always is more time. And so if you are in a district where you're trying to get parents to come pick up the meal, what the need point you're meeting. Hey, we know you're busy. We know you're transitioned to teaching your kiddos at home remotely. Let us help you. Instead of having to stop and make that lunch, let them have that school lunch experience at home when you're teaching them. Where do those customers get the information? We have had a lot of surveys go out in Google Forms, and we know parents are looking at Google Forms to be able to answer questions about whether they're going to pick up meals and whatnot. So what I will say is customers get their information in every district in different ways. And those ways can be simply looking to using those Google Forms, but also newsletters. We know that that's been happening, town hall meetings, certainly social media, if your school district is pushing out information on social media. So that would be the second kind of question. And maybe some of your staff members are parents. Certainly your principals can be asked that same question, and you can get information about maybe places they're disseminating important information about curriculum. So really ask that. Parent teacher associations, those sorts of things. The brainstorming list will go down and down and down. How do you evaluate their alternatives to satisfy their needs? So obviously these are businessy type questions, and as an alumni of this program, this related to all types of businesses, but it's an exercise of really writing these answers down and then doing the circles and finding the key words really in each of these columns to kind of come up with your idea of how best to communicate the service you're providing and market that appropriately so parents know. I will, Cindy's not on this call, but I'm not saying anything negative about our school district. They're working really hard, but I forgot I had to sign up for meals the second week. I thought the first time I did the Google form, yes, as I do this for all these other schools, am admitting as a parent, unless you send me a reminder, I'm not going to remember to sign up for those pickup meals. And so that was something that Brexville had decided to tell parents, if you want them, elect in by coming onto our website, and it fell off my to-do list as a busy working mom, even a mom that is really, really close to this topic and managing it for other schools. So again, this exercise is simply one. We stay in our lane where we drive as dietitians, but certainly to be able to explore some marketing concepts that might help you was the thought behind going through this exercise. All right, I'll let you advance, Lauren. I'm not touching anything else. I'm like frozen here. So my call to action for you is answer these questions. How is the meal service valuable to your families? And paint a picture of that in a story, be it a infographic on Canva, which you'll hear a little bit about, be it a little short video clip of your team, be it students talking about the meal service that are in school that could be really peer proponents for the value of it. And then decide how you'll communicate that. Are you going to send out an e-blast? Are you going to put it on social media, Facebook, all of those ways? And then certainly, how will you consider to continue to consider marketing the quality piece, which I know I missed that part of the conversation, but my 2 cents on that is, I hate the saying we can't even give it away, right? What about our quality story mission can we improve and better communicate to allow families to really connect with that vision? So you're going to consider your audience, of course. Your messaging might be different if you're talking to students, older students versus younger students. Certainly, it's going to be different if you're talking to parents. Your audience could be how you encourage your teachers to help talk about your program if they're in the classroom with the students eating the program. And then you are going to think about your presentation, and we're going to talk a lot about that. I know many of you have the quality food, and then we've seen a lot of what I say maybe fumbles at the 1 yard line and not get crossed to get that touchdown moment when your presentation is lacking. And we always talked about that with Smarter Lunchroom, the whole 5 senses of food service. You eat with your eyes. So what do we have? If it's a sea of white styrofoam and the variety of colored food seems, that whole yellow, tan, orange, if it's all whole grain, corn, diced peaches, that look of that meal is not the pop, but from a visual aspect. And then of course, we want to provide information and support. So, what does that mean? At your district, it might look different. I just gave you an example of how I fumbled as a parent at home, not signing up. What reminders, what information, continued pokes about what you're doing, maybe a menu at a glance, email out. And then certainly quality. And I think a lot of us, we reduced the variety of foods we offered, which was quite all right, given the immense undertaking it was to just get back into school and back into groove with all our new safety protocols. But seriously, thinking about, people might be tired of the cycle menu. Traditionally in years prior to COVID, now is the time we were already trying to start change to really get people excited about the menu again. And so if you have a limited variety, or if you generally seasonally would have switched now's the time to think about that quality and how you might package it and promote it. So I'm going to pass it over to Tina, I think, hopefully, and I will be on as well.
Hopefully. All right, so packages that we've seen that worked nicely. The packagings are this like my favorite bowl. I love this bowl. Are you hearing me? It's the greatest bowl.
I'm going to have you take back over, Lauren. I'm sorry, Tina. We are technically challenged, and I want to make sure people aren't going to get frustrated. So, Lauren, on you go.
All righty. So I'm staying in today. So I will give full credit to Tina. She is by far our operations expert on the team. She's been the one kind of on the front lines. So she had a lot of really great, packaging solutions. And so we'll kind of talk through some of those. We tried to find both the Joshin and the GFS option when available. We do have some of the pricing information on that if you guys are interested, or if you can't access that for any reason. So we really like this bowl. You can see some of the different applications there, obviously soups, mac and cheese, different buildable concepts. What Tina and her crew in Woodridge have been doing is actually utilizing these bowls to freeze their meals, which is pretty incredible. So they're able to kind of make the Asian rice bowls, do burrito bowls, create mashed potato bowls, cook it and cool it appropriately, and then freeze them. So these bowls are really able to help maintain that, maintain the food quality while freezing it. So this next one, a lot of you guys have probably seen this if you're not using them already. This is a 3-compartment bistro box from GFS. The lid and the box are sold separately. But this is personally one of my favorite items. Obviously it works better for different cold bistro box options, but if you haven't seen our recipe database with all of our bistro boxes, you're missing out because we have one for every taste. There's different nacho bistro boxes. We've got Lunchables, different pizza Lunchables, sandwiches, all sorts of good stuff there. And this box really helps to kind of showcase all of those components individually. This one is another one from Tina. This is available on GFS. So what's great about this little box is it's very durable. It was kind of like, Dairy Queen when you go and get the Blizzard and they tilt it upside down and show that it's not going to like fall out. You can kind of do this with this box. So the lid stays on there. They stack really nicely. You can use it for side salads. I believe you can also use it as a hot application and put mac and cheese in there as well. And then certainly any breakfast entrees. So like a waffle would fit in there nicely, some cinnamon rolls, and some other items like that as well. This one is pretty great for catering. So again, Tina unfortunately cannot speak to this right now, but she did a really great job with a catering event recently in Woodridge. And so this little box, they were able to fit, a couple different side items packaged individually in there, as well as a wrapped sandwich. And I believe they had a cookie in there too. So this box is probably a little better suited for things that are already wrapped. I've kind of spoken to this a little bit. So in my dorm or the campus dining halls when I was in college, I remember these boxes and they would serve like stir fry to us in these and you could like feel it sloshing around. So it's not going to be best for pastas or stir fries or things that are a little more moist or fluid. But certainly things that are already wrapped and kind of drier would be really good for these boxes. We know that in the past, these kind of haven't always closed as well. They don't want to stay tight. So again, that's why putting the wetter items in there probably isn't going to work out as well. So this is my own picture, and I actually have an example with me. So Allison Patrick, shout out to you, local takeover days. So we've been doing a lot of different bistro boxes. And I really love obviously using the different clear clamshell containers for that. So with these pizza bagels, obviously they're going to be way too big for the typical bistro box container we just showed. So I told my staff we can put them in these little hoagie containers. So yes, this is a hoagie container traditionally used for cold sandwiches. We also used them for our entree salads. But it honestly worked really well for the bistro box. I got a little hungry, so you can't see that the cheese is gone and some of the veggies are gone, but the bagels are still sitting pretty in there. But yeah, so this one works out really well. It's also pretty cheap. So this entire meal was very affordable, even with the packaging. And then lastly, I'm playing a lot of show and tell here. So shout out to Kathy Zakelli for getting us some samples. This is the one box. So it comes in a couple different sizes. I have all four of the sizes with me right now. So again, I apologize, the lighting is not great, but this is kind of a little sturdier version of the brown box that I just showed for catering. So what's really cool about these ones is you can kind of see they have like a vented lid. So if you're putting any type of hot item in here, you can still maintain that quality that we're kind of preaching today. They are also wax lined, I think, maybe not wax, but that like smoother, durable coating on the inside again, so you're not going to have any moisture leaking through the box. So yeah, the smaller one, they also have kind of like the longer flat one. And then they've got kind of a thicker version of this one that's also big for an entire meal as well. So yeah, these are pretty great. And as Maureen can kind of speak to a little bit, when she picked up, so she's got a similar one as well. These will stack really nicely. So if you're doing weekend meal bags or you're doing multiple days at a time, you can fit entire meals in one of these boxes and stack them in a nice like brown to go bag, and really maintain that presentation.
This was a Brexville fresh flavor box that I picked up for my little one. And to Lauren's point, the dimension allowed for a pint of milk to sit right in alongside the grain and the fruit option for breakfast and the lunch items. And then we were given the boxes pretty much in its entirety. And being somebody that has really been looking at how things are packed and how they're utilized, this allows me to point to a box that's marked B and let Addison pick her own box and take it with her when she's going to the classroom we set up for her in our office. So it's an option for parents that really want it to be nicely packaged in a unitized, this is a bundle that's balanced. I thought it was a really cool thing.
So we wanted to include some other packaging pro tips for you as well. So if you're anything like me, you're a visual person. And as much as we try and do our little show and tell, I know my lighting is not great and we're running through them kind of quickly. So fortunately, there are some other solutions for how you can either get samples or kind of pick and choose and be able to see the different options that are available to you. So the Pactiv app is pretty cool. I was reminded about this recently. I forgot we had a representative kind of talk about it during our back to school boot camp, but it literally will walk you through like, hey, this is the item I'm trying to serve. It's a hot or a cold application. I'm serving it in the cafeteria, classroom, or it's going home in a bag. And it'll spit out different options like, hey, that might be a good idea to serve it in this container. So honestly, it makes it, you know, quote unquote, dummy proof and makes it really easy and user friendly. You can see there, I took a screenshot. These are some other options available through that app. You can download it for Apple or Android. As long as you have a smartphone, you should be able to access it. And so really just kind of optimizing your packaging solutions from the experts. We always try to play Switzerland. So we want to include Joshen as well. They are on the OSC bid. And they do have the Joshen zone. So you can literally just Google Joshen zone and it will pull up all of the different products they have as well as pictures and then information to contact them should you want different, should you want some sample cases as well. And I included this quote from a packaging webinar that I watched yesterday. That's just kind of the world we live in nowadays where there's like webinars on packaging and like grab and go and plating. And it was so simple, but I wanted to include this quote where it's pick something that makes your customer want to eat it. Right. So I kind of, the way that I understood that is if you were at a deli or like even I know Sheets we've talked about before where they have like all the made to order grab and go options. What is going to entice you to choose that option over something else? And certainly like how it looks and the way it's packaged is going to play into that. So even if you are handing out a bag and it's not necessarily like your kids are coming through and they're picking these items, you still want to kind of give that same feel and make them like they would choose that if they had the choice, if that makes sense. All right. Oh, so this is my part anyways. So kind of going along with that, we also want to be able to communicate effectively to our families. So we developed this resource for one of our schools and we did a training, a socially distant training last week. And especially if you are giving away multiple days worth or even multiple meals, a breakfast and a lunch in one bag, you might perceive all of that food going into it to be used and to be eaten in one way. But when your family gets it and they're opening up that bag, they may see it completely differently. So the particular school that we were working with, they were doing 7-day meal bags. And they had some really creative and really great options in there. So the one that I'll kind of point to is that first box on the screen. So they had tortillas, Parmesan cheese, the marinara cups, and then a beef stick. So they were intending that to be used as a build your own pizza Lunchable. However, you can kind of see like, oh, what your family sees when they open that bag, you know, I have kids in Garfield Heights that will literally just take the tortilla off their plate and just like snack on the tortilla and leave everything else out there. So if that's the case for some of our families, they might eat the tortilla as a snack, and then you're left with a marinara cup and some Parmesan cheese, which is probably going to get thrown out. One of Maureen's famous taglines is, it's not nutrition unless they swallow it. So we want to equip the families with all the information they need to eat their meal as it's intended to be eaten, and that which is going to be the best way for them. So Another resource that we developed was What's in the Bag. Again, this might look kind of familiar if you participated in our back to school boot camp and got one of our sample boxes, but really just something as simple as this. Doesn't have to be complicated. Just visuals or even a list of like, hey, we have these nachos and they're supposed to be served with the salsa and the cheese cup. Or, hey, we've got this build your own pizza. Here's how you can pair these items together to make a nice filling meal instead of eating the pieces parts to it. Again, something simple enough you can throw in the bag, communicate this with families. You could also link this to your My School Menus page as well as a widget, and just post this anywhere that your families might see it. All right, so first want to note that this picture was taken pre-pandemic. Kids are obviously not socially distanced in our salad bar line, but the whole message here is build it and they will come. So this is in Garfield Heights Middle School. It was the first day that we did our Garfield Garden salad bar with all these beautiful veggies, a ton of choice. And it was awesome to see like 8th grade boys waiting in line, like out the door just to get a fresh salad. So this conversation that kind of keeps coming up is, you know, we want to serve food that the kids are familiar with, but we also want to expand their familiarity. We want to expose them to different foods. So a lot of you may be feeling limited in what variety you can offer, what menu you can offer. But certainly if you are still in brick and mortar, there are some opportunities available to serve those crowd favorites, to do different bar concepts, even if they are scaled back. We know that when kids have a choice in what they're eating, they're going to be more likely to eat it. And so certainly, you know, don't feel limited to what you can offer, even if you are having to package it to go or cover everything to be eaten outside of the cafeteria. All right, so one thing that we've probably tossed around a couple times, you may have heard us talk about, is Canva. And you're probably like, what the heck is Canva? So I found this completely free graphic design website. Anybody can create an account, and any of the posts that you've seen, anything that's shared on Facebook or our social media pages, chances are it was created on Canva. So we just kind of wanted to quickly go through and show you like, hey, you know, you might not have a ton of money to allocate towards marketing. You may not have those resources available in your district, but that doesn't mean that you can't create engaging and appealing resources to help better communicate your message from your nutrition services department. So this is just a screenshot of the home page. You can see all of the different options and things that you can make, different sizes to right fit, you know, whatever you're trying to advertise or where you're trying to market. This, again, this probably looks familiar. These are some resources that we've posted that we've shared out in our What's Up Wednesdays, both the live and the newsletter. You can create different color schemes. So you can see there's kind of hints of orange and green, which is the Sonic logo, kind of sprinkled throughout all of these. And you can save everything. So again, completely free. You can save it all in one place and pull it up and access old ones if you ever need to kind of dig up those old resources. And then again, this is just kind of a zoomed in view of one of the documents that we're working on. So if you look on the left side, you can see they have templates. So if you're like, I am not creative, I can't match colors, I'm not gonna, like, I don't even want to worry about this. You don't have to be a creative genius to do it. They have templates for you. You can literally just highlight over it and type in whatever words best fit, you know, your message, and just kind of use the stuff that they've already created. You can add relevant pictures. You can use some of the free stuff that they already have on there. And then you can certainly download it and share it out and post it wherever you're trying to communicate, or whatever platforms you use in your district. So again, very brief Canva tutorial. Certainly, if any of you are interested and don't really know where to start, definitely put in a support ticket, reach out to us. We can kind of help get you set up or give you some pointers on where to start. But yeah, we just kind of wanted to give a nod to that, you know, we are not creative geniuses. We use the free stuff whenever we can get our hands on it here.
All right. Do you want me to tag back in since you?
Yeah, I need like some water or something. Go ahead.
I'm very proud of you. You are doing awesome. See, you guys don't need me to be the person to do all this. But I will jump in here. Marge is on the line, but in lieu of like everybody's technology glitches today, I'm just going to present the next couple of slides here with just a little bit of what we hope will inspire you to think about some fun things and also some creative things that will get your staff excited about creating and actually cooking I know many of you have staff that are itching, and once we started getting schools doing more creative things, even if it was something as easy as that picture on the right, which is actually a dogo cookie, just set in a little muffin tin and pushed with your finger and baked so that it becomes a little pie cup. And so that's something so creative, but you can imagine apple pie bites would make your students excited. And certainly I know a lot of staff that you all lead are really happy when they get to make something that smells good and that they feel like has a little personal touch. So super easy. Again, a Dogo's local cookie, pressed some canned apple slices with some cinnamon sprinkles. So again, relatively cheap opportunity to add some flair to your menu. These are our sweet holiday seasonals. I should have started by saying, I kind of gave you a discussion that Kim and I were having today. Is like we might not be able to do the whole full blown out holiday meal that we've always done, but it doesn't mean we can't do something, right? So again, this little bit of inspiration is to help you think that through. We have here pumpkin scones, sweet potatoes with maple, the slide back, I'm sorry, one. And then the apple crisp. And so the apple crisp on the bottom also celebrates the local farm to school recipes. And again, if you haven't taken the pledge or looked at Feed Our Future, all of those recipe videos live there and also on our NutriSmart website. Short videos. So even if you're looking at creating an apple crisp recipe for your menu for a holiday flair, we also have them scaled so that you can give them out to your parents and inspire them to create something with local apples for the holidays. So not only inspiration on the actual food tray, but inspiration in the messaging and the support resources you're sending home. And we love those pumpkin parfaits. They just look so cute. The next slide, we'll talk a little bit about our savory recipes. And again, these recipes are all available in Healthy Meal Planner Pro for you. The idea here is a harvest hash. So it's a different blend of utilizing a sweet potato blended with a white diced potato. And certainly in this picture, you can see just a little spice of color and also homemade will look really pretty and different next to perhaps your turkey product that's available. Also, the harvest, who doesn't love a good bread stuffing? So the holiday harvest bread stuffing recipe is available. So if you wanted to make a side dish that is, again, a creation, something savory, that is something your kids would look forward to, that is a good recipe as well to think of. Maybe even a stuffing bowl opposite a mashed potato bowl as an option, kind of just something different to kind of think of. And then we would also encourage those of you who are cold. So some of our clients are still saying, hey, I only serve cold food, but we still want to do something holiday. This is a harvest salad featuring cranberries, apples, corn, turkey, so that you can still do something with a holiday flair in your cold menu offerings if you are truly still doing just all cold grab and go items, depending on where your, what your needs are and your students are. So these recipes are all available, developed and in Healthy Meal Planner Pro. The next slide is just fun. So really not a recipe, just a little creativity and a black Sharpie, right? So it doesn't have to be hard in order to show a little bit of effort and to bring a little bit of joy into the day surrounding, obviously Halloween in this case, but thinking forward to your Thanksgiving and perhaps Christmas holiday meals. Look to us for inspiration. Put in your support ticket at support@pplc.info, and one of the team members would be happy to send you recipes so that you can look at them and or help you strategize how to get that into your cycle menu. We will be sending out for all of you that are Pasonic team schools utilizing our Healthy Meal Planner Pro this coming Monday, October 26th, the set of recipes with the recipe numbers, fall into winter recipes. If you're joining us on the call and you are not yet signed up to be a Pasonic Partner School, have no fear. Our goal this year is to really inspire any and all who want to make wholesome meals, fuel healthy lives in their schools. So contact us again at support@pplc.info for any curiosity over the holiday recipe set that we'll be sharing out again Monday so that we can get those going. I will pass it over. I'm hoping I don't have to do the food safety part in a moment. But one of the things I want to tell you is that we are still doing serving up safe training. So For those of you who are having your staff in on days where students aren't, this is an example of a socially distant meeting that we had at East Cleveland with Don Johnson. And again, we were talking through a lot of the stuff that Lauren actually showed you with the What's in the Bag Canva, helping them better understand how to package, what those packaging goals are, and also to be able to talk through any of the new changes with the new waivers and the question and answers that came up. So if you are interested in in-person training, we are still doing that and respectively in a distant and safe environment. We hope if that's your need, we meet it. The next thing we want to do before I pass it on again over to talking about some safety items to wrap today up is going to be just celebrations. I don't think we all feel celebrated enough in this frontline essential work that we're doing. But I will tell you again, shout out to my friends at Feed Our Future. The Great Lakes Apple Crunch happened, and we were blessed this year to be on the farm at Quarry Hill Orchard with Brooke Gammy. And so the first picture there is just us, again, celebrating in a very respectful, distanced way, but still celebrating. And so we don't want you to stop celebrating all of the joy that we do in school food service. We have a staff there doing it at Woodridge, and then in the top right, for those of you who are unaware, again, the local Takeover recipes are another tool and resource that you can ask Pasonic. Those are ready-made resources and recipes available for you to put in fun bistro boxes into your menu to celebrate local. The top right shows local Middlefield cheese, Quarry Hill apple, and then the Dogo's breakfast bar. For those of you who haven't tried that yet, I think it's really delicious. And that container is very specific to kind of keeping it all not touching. If you have those kids like my daughter is, and not touching, but not having to individually wrap everything. So again, thinking about your packaging, your promotion. But celebrating. For more training opportunities, again, if you're not comfortable with the in-person, certainly we are happy to do virtual trainings, and there are a lot of really good free trainings available as well. And so the ICN virtual training portal is one that has always been really, really good. And I will tell you, they have updated a lot of their trainings throughout the last couple of months, given COVID. So check out the ICN.org e-learning for more training opportunities as we get into the year further here for professional development hours. I do want to point out that I was very impressed this year by the School Nutrition Association's package for their National School Lunch Week Toolkit. And for those of you who are like, oh, that happened already, don't worry. Many of us felt that way. It crept up on us, but it was last week. But what I like to show and what I'm pointing out here is, you know, if you weren't in session and you're planning to make that transition back into brick and mortar, make that your National School Lunch Week. Heck, I say make every week a theme week of some sort of celebration, because we are frontline essential workers doing things that I think sometimes falls off the radar. So one of the things here that we just kind of snipped out of it is they have a lot of these 8 ideas. So even if you used one idea last week during National School Lunch Week, these ideas I think are really kind of cool and speak to kind of this whole lights, camera, action movie theme. And so as we get into the cold months where people are doing those movie night themes, it gave a really a lot of ideas on how to engage not only your brick and mortar students, but the home students. So if you haven't gotten a chance to download that toolkit, I would suggest highly resourceful document for you to make every week National School Lunch Week. This I wanted to shout out. Again, I am a part of the continued restart committee through the Ohio Department of Education. This is actually Judy Riley from Pickerington's Facebook. And I know many of you are doing it. I think I've seen John Rex on Facebook and certainly Diana Hill on Facebook, talking about what you're doing with your free meals, showing pictures of them, reminding families like me that you have to sign up if you want to pick them up. Whatever it is, I think that has become a tool and a resource that I think is very powerful, given that I think more families now are on their school's Facebook or the PSO's Facebook more than ever. If you haven't, there have been 13 town hall meetings, and those 13 meetings have all been made available. Charity is leading that effort at the Department of Education, and she has done a really great job of continuing to put that information together and asking folks to give us ideas on what we would want to hear from ODE. Certainly, I would encourage you all to email Bridget Hires and Charity at ODE for giving them ideas of what you need. I mean, we thread a ton of them this week on our group restart call, including commodity updates on what to do with those commodities. So if you have a need, a burning question, please, one, sign up for these town halls. There will be, the next 3 are coming up next week at the times there. You can go onto your KERS and sign in, but they are going to really revisit the new waiver extensions and celebrate them in part, but also clarify any questions you have regarding what that really means for you and your programs. We were glad to get the updates from Bridget directly, and I think it just makes you have a little sense of peace when you hear what they're talking about in terms of things like, what are we going to do with verification? It is still on hold. All of those types of burning questions. So join those town halls and really give feedback to ODE. They want to help you understand what's going on from the standpoint of the crazy FAQ, Q&As, and waiver extensions all out there from the USDA. So I am going to pass it over to Sarah, and I saw her pop on, and she's coming on again. There she is.
I'm here.
Yay, go girl. You get
all right.
Safety
so
route.
Of course, I'm going to do all things food safety and just keeping healthy right now with everything that's going on. So if you look at this little picture that we were able to put together, we're going into cold and flu season. I think some of our biggest concerns is that there is a huge overlap in symptoms amongst cold and flu versus COVID. So just something to be aware of. And how you are tracking that in your district to make sure that obviously anybody who is coming in, if they're working, that they are feeling well, and that if they are sick and they have any of the possible symptoms of COVID, that we are just making sure we're taking the necessary steps to make sure that we keep everybody in the kitchen safe, because the last thing we want to do is wipe out an entire kitchen full of people. I don't know about you guys, but the districts that I work in, I certainly don't have a sub list long enough to replace an entire kitchen. So just something to think about as we move into this next season of the virus. So we would like you to think about revisiting your district's COVID sickness policy. I think we were all really on top of those things in the spring. And as we came back in the fall, I think those have fallen off a bit. But we definitely want to keep track of this, especially for tracking and tracing. Again, that's going to become very important. If anybody in your district would happen to test positive, that we can make sure that we are quarantining any necessary additional personnel if they've come into close contact and there could be any concern there. There's also the employee health questionnaire that you'll see here. These typically tend to be more foodborne illness related, but again, we just want to keep track with everything that's going on with the virus right now, that we're all just staying nice and safe and healthy in our kitchens. And then some pointers for good production. So something that I want you to think about is the COVID cases and quarantining, right? So that's obviously going to lead to decreased production. Again, like I said, I don't know very many school districts that have a sub list long enough that you could replace an entire kitchen or even probably half a kitchen. So just really something to think about. Make sure that you're keeping safe assembly lines and the ladies are staying 6 feet apart. I know that that can be really difficult. I work in some buildings, particularly the little elementary buildings. The kitchens tend to be a very tight space. So it's really hard if you have more than 2 or 3 people in those kitchens at any given time for everybody to stay 6 feet apart. But that is just something with quarantining, tracking, and tracing that we have to think through. If everybody is closer than that 6 feet for more than 15 minutes, then that just looks a little bit different if anybody would test positive in that kitchen on how we would handle that moving forward. So think about that. I know there has been some angst on everything being covered. So we talked about really great containers earlier, particularly the little boxes and things that you can put multiple things in and send out. Not every single item within that box needs to be individually wrapped. Everything in the box is covered by being inside of the box. And I think we're all doing a really great job keeping the kids safe and maybe going a little above and beyond where we need to be to make sure that the food is safe. So that's also something to think about as you're putting things together is, do you need a styrofoam squat container with a lid inside of a styrofoam clamshell with a lid? No, the food is now double covered. That isn't really necessary. So it is very burdensome in the back of the house to do production that way and have to individualize everything like that. So just something to think about as you're serving food. Yes, we want to continue to keep things safe, but we also want to be cost effective and we want to be time sensitive as well, just so that you're not feeling overwhelmed by what's going on in the back of the house, getting meals ready, whether for your on-site kids or for your virtual learners. So again, just something to think about as we are kind of getting our head around everything that's going on. How can we do things a little bit better and work a little smarter and not harder? So tilts, so this time in lieu of temperature and food quality, that's something else I want you to think about. So how early are you putting together the meals? I know a lot of schools, it's really easy to have everything already pre-made in a container and the kids just grab it and go. If that food is sitting for a prolonged period of time, particularly if it's in a closed container and it's hot, steamy food, the steam collects and it really does affect the overall quality of the product. And again, we want to, even though it's free, I know everybody gets to eat for free right now. If the food isn't something the kids like and the quality lacks, that's definitely going to have an impact on participation. And not just participation now, but it could affect participation into the future. So making sure that we are thinking about how we're presenting the food and that the food is still the quality that we've all been giving to the kids prior to COVID, right? So just think about how you're packaging the items, if there's any different way that you could do it where they're still safe, but you are still maintaining food quality. So again, the time in lieu of temperature, I know I've heard this in quite a few buildings, like we have 4 hours, we're not anywhere near 4 hours. I understand that, but if you set a box of, for example, the grapes, the French fries, the chicken tenders, and that Dutch waffle in a container, and it's sitting for even an hour or 2 hours, the quality of those chicken tenders and fries and Dutch waffle is not going to be very good. And I understand that the food is free, but we still want the excellent quality that the kids are used to receiving. So again, just think through the packaging and how you are putting those meals together in the mornings.
So I've been just typing away in this little chat box. I put in, for those of you who haven't seen our resources, I did take the liberty to put in the Josh and Zone website, the Canva website. I also put in a reminder about the NutriSmart Network page, which is the partner page to Pasonic. We still do have a cohesive resource guide for COVID-19, including short trainings and logs for employee health and illness. So if you're interested, please take a look there. Don't reinvent the wheel. Don't make it harder than it has to be. Contact us, we'll help you, or check out that site. Again, under that site, that NutriSmart site, there's also the link to the free videos. Glad to be a part of that Feed Our Future Farm to School grant project. Again, they are the people who made that magic happen, along with Tina. I know she said she can't be talking to you today, but she was the master behind putting those little videos, mise en place together. So not only a tool for you to perhaps learn a quick new recipe in a video format, which might be easier for some of you. If you're like me, I always YouTube video how to use my Instapot like every time, just about as a quick refresher. But also thinking about what we talked about was having your families understand the quality of the products and the commitment. The mission of your school could be just as easy as sharing a link to something like the Farm to School recipe videos. This month being October still, you still have a chance to say, hey, if you haven't done it, check out these great recipes. And it's a great way to connect your families to the mission and the quality of the foods, and share that information. I would be remiss if I didn't say Lunch Assist. That is my girl from the West Coast. It's fun to it's hard, but also fun to talk to her because of the time difference. We'll be chatting this evening. I've stayed in contact with her. One of her newest blogs is written on the waivers and Q&A. And while she does disclaim her expertise lies in the state of California, I think I just love the way she does that whole the Marie Kondo organizing, like, does this serve you or not? Because when somebody hands me an email with attachments of all the USDA memo codes, no offense to SNA, I know many of you got that in your email box this morning, those overwhelm me. I start to get like heart palpitations about like, what am I supposed to do with these? And I did get a message from some folks saying, what am I supposed to do with these? So her new blog on waivers and Q&A is a soft read and really easy read. But again, pointing you back to the town hall meetings if you have questions or concerns just about those types of logistics. I know we're short for time on questions, but I am opening up the chat box here. Certainly unmute yourself if you want to turn on your video, that's your choice. But the team here really just wants, despite technical difficulties at the beginning of this, to thank you for your time. Thank you for choosing a little rainy afternoon inspiration. And we hope you find 1, 2, 3, any of these ideas useful in really trying to motivate and continue to inspire your staff and the students you get to serve. So again, I did put in the chat box, if you are a team Pasonic, support at pplc.info for your menu changes. Coming Monday will be your recipe set to let us know what you'd like to have on your menus. And if you are curious to see any menus before, just don't hesitate to reach out to any one of us on that support line or the BAT phones that I'm sure you guys all have saved in your cell phones. So either way works for us. I'm not seeing any questions. Lauren, do you have anything to add, or Sarah? I don't know, Tina, if you want to try to to log on.
I think I'm good.
All right.
Yellow.
Well, again, we appreciate it. The video will be recorded, although we know we had some difficulties at the beginning. If you have any other questions, don't hesitate to reach out, and we appreciate your time today. Thank you all.